Chapter 3551. No. Old Lai didn't understand Yiqing Luo's sudden silence and change of topic. He answered Yiqing Luo's question directly and couldn't help but complain. You asked me to follow that lass to the West Cliff Mountain, saying it was to protect her safety. Then you asked me to find an excuse to leave midway, but in fact I was secretly observing her. What was that for? Are you suspecting that there's something wrong with that lass? Not really suspecting. Yiqing Luo shook her head, just curious about her identity. Identity? Old Lai frowned. How do you know she has another identity? What other identity does she have? Yiqing Luo's body leaned slightly against the back of the chair as she immediately raised one hand. The fingers of his other hand pinched a corner of his sleeve. Sheng brought them back to the treasure-gathering hall when they were young, and they relied on concocting pills to make ends meet. Even the treasure-gathering hall has slowly turned into a small-scale trading hall like this. This shows that their days are tough and they are poor. This broken-down place is indeed very poor. Old Lai looked around with a look of disgust. But under such a hard situation the clothes she wears are very good material. Yiqing Luo rubbed her sleeves. This kind of material at least rich businessmen can afford to wear it. Not only her clothes, the material is excellent, there's also Sheng. Don't think that Sheng is dressed in grey, looking very down and out, but his clothes are extremely soft, absolutely will not hurt his skin. Yiqing Luo paused for a moment and immediately placed her hand on the table, and the decorations here, although it looks simple and unremarkable, but in actual fact, no matter if it's the table or the chairs, they are all made from top-quality wood. Old Lai couldn't understand these things at all. How can you be so sure that this is related to that lass? Perhaps it's Pei Xing that brat's doing. Sheng is not that smart. Yiqing Luo denied directly without thinking. If it's him, the treasure-gathering exchange wouldn't become like this. To Pei Xing, the treasure-gathering exchange hall was everything to him. If he was really not as simple as he looked on the surface, he would have long reorganized the treasure-gathering exchange hall. And not to the extent that the signboard was taken down. Pei Xing, who was inexplicably accused of not being smart. Achoo. Was someone talking about him? Then tell me, why do you think it's that girl? Lao Lai was curious. He somehow felt that everything seemed to be under Yiqing Luo's control. It seemed like Yiqing Luo knew everything. No wonder the Overlord had taken a liking to her. Only the Overlord would be able to tame such a woman. Yiqing Luo tilted her head and pointed at Chi-Chi, who was curled up into a ball on the bed. The way she looked at Chi-Chi was very strange. If I didn't guess wrongly, she should have recognized Chi-Chi's identity. You can recognize it. Lao Lai looked at Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's palm-sized body was snow-white, just like a newborn kitten. It was adorable and cute, and it was a world of difference from the white tiger sacred beast, one of the 4 legendary sacred beasts. So I suspect her identity. Yiqing Luo nodded. Although I don't feel any malicious intent from her, but after all, I don't know her background and I don't know the purpose of her concealing her identity, so I feel a little uneasy. Chapter 3552. Half an hour? Yiqing Luo looked at him seriously. Under your eyes, how could she disappear for half an hour? Old Lai's face turned red. That half an hour when she disappeared, the medicine basket was still there. A young lady needs some private time. How can an old man like me follow her? Because the medicine basket was there. Old Lai thought that Gu Zishi was looking for a secluded place to solve her squatting problem. Private time doesn't need half an hour. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes. She's such a young lady, to be able to live in peace in a place like West Cliff Mountain. She must have some secret there. She touched her chin. Can you help me investigate the relationship between the blood mercenary group and her? Old Lai. He was from the Hell Palace. Now he had fallen to the stage of running errands for a young lass? Another stalker. Another investigator. What did she treat the Hell Palace as? Old Lai expressed his disobedience. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. You still say you owe me a favor and that if I need anything, you will do your best to help me. I haven't even asked you to do anything and you're already showing an unwilling face. She paused for a moment, clicked her tongue and shook her head in disappointment. Indeed, you can't believe the Hell Palace's words. Old Lai's face turned steely green as he squeezed out 2 words. I go. He really shouldn't have told this little demoness the reason why he would help her. At least this little demoness wouldn't order him around without any ill feelings. Old Lai expressed that if he knew that he would meet this demoness today, he would never come to without embroiling city. Looking at Old Lai's twisted face, that hideous scar on his face was squirming horribly. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as her pink lips curled into a big smile, nodding in satisfaction. Good boy. Old Lai's features became even more twisted. Young lady, aren't you afraid that I will go crazy and kill you? Yiqing Luo lowered her head and continued to work on the herbs. Then are you afraid that Xian will go crazy and destroy the Hell Palace? Bullying young lady. Old Lai gritted his teeth. Yiqing Luo replied, and bullying others is also a kind of ability. At least I have a backer who is willing to rely on me. Old Lai flicked his sleeves and left. Looking at Old Lai's disappearing figure, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. Old Lai's character was somewhat similar to teacher Gui Yu. It was easier to deal with such a straightforward person. She smiled and hung her head. Time was running out. He had to hurry up and refine the item that he was going to use to turn the situation around tomorrow. In the medicine basket, there was still a large pile of messy herbs waiting for her to sort them out. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and threw herself into the medicinal herbs. About an hour later, Yiqing Luo had finally tidied up the medicinal herbs in the 2 medicine baskets, and those medicinal herbs which were to be used were distributed to the side according to the proportion. What made Yiqing Luo astonished was that the quality of these medicinal herbs were not bad at all. Yiqing Luo indicated that West Cliff Mountain had successfully attracted her attention. Once everything was over, she would definitely go to the West Cliff Mountain and sweep it clean. The herbs stored in the profound phoenix ring needed to be refurbished. Yiqing Luo packed all the medicinal herbs which she was going to use later into a medicinal basket and carried it directly to the bed. The lady's soft bed was instantly occupied by a large pile of medicinal herbs. Yiqing Luo sat at the head of the bed, and with a jolt of her consciousness, these medicinal herbs were all brought into the azure dew bracelet. Old Man Tsong was suspended in mid-air, swinging his legs. Chapter 3553. Not medicinal pills. Yiqing Luo hugged the medicine basket and walked to the cauldron dragon's side. Then what do you want to refine? Old Man Tsong floated down, his nose twitched as he sniffed the herbs in the basket. Then he frowned. These herbs are to improve the skin and regulate the toxins in the body. What do you want to do? Yiqing Luo was busy with the preparation work in her hands as she replied, women's money is easy to earn. Women go crazy for their looks, even more crazy than those cultivators who want to improve their strength. Old Man Tsong. For a moment he felt speechless. In the 100-pill refining manual, there were all kinds of pill refining recipes. There were also a lot of beauty-nourishing, physique-improving, endocrine-improving and body fragrance formulas. Refining beauty and nourishing ointment was much more reliable than refining elixirs that strengthened the body and raised profound energy. Most importantly, the herbs were relatively simple. And refining a pellet to raise profound strength in a situation where there was no guarantee. Others might not believe in her pills. After the preparations were complete, Yiqing Luo then threw herself into refining the beauty-nourishing ointment. The next morning, Yiqing Luo slowly poured the ointment into a sparkling white jade bottle from the cauldron dragon. The jade bottle was about the size of 2 fingers, transparent and radiating light. The pink ointment in the jade bottle seemed to be plated with a layer of color, very tempting. Yiqing Luo filled the ointment into 4 bottles. After finishing these, Old Man Tsong's voice sounded, "Lass, someone is approaching your room." Yiqing Luo put the jade bottle away and used her divine sense. She opened her eyes and coincidentally heard a knock on the door. "Ah Luo, are you awake?" Yiqing Luo got down from the bed piled with herbs and used her fingers to comb her loose black hair. "I'm up." She opened the door and saw a dirty Gu Zishi standing at the doorway. When she saw Yiqing Luo, her eyes brightened. "Ah Luo, did you succeed?" The woman was panting. Yiqing Luo also saw the sweat on her forehead. Obviously, Gu Zishi had rushed back early in the morning. It was probably to confirm whether she had successfully refined the beautifying ointment. After all, this was the only chance to save Ju Bao. Yiqing Luo took out a bottle. "I've succeeded, I've refined 4 bottles. I'll take this bottle first to test the effect." "For bottles?" Gu Zishi's eyes widened. "With those herbs I can only make 2 portions of ointment at most." Yiqing Luo smiled. The proportion of medicinal herbs is absolutely not the slightest bit off, you can rest assured. Gu Zishi took the bottle, her hands trembling. Who should we find to test the effects? Judging from Ah Xing's good impression of the citizens yesterday, it shouldn't be that difficult to find someone to test the effect. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment. Let's do some publicity first, then find a lady with spots or pimples on her face to test it in public. At this point she touched her chin again and smiled evilly. It's best to blow it up. If Qiao Yulu is so angry that she rushes over to add more scenes, our free publicity will be secured. Gu Zishi. Why did she feel that Ah Luo was getting more and more cunning? If Qiao Yulu knew that her role was just a publicity tool, she wondered if she would be so angry that she would vomit blood. Gu Zishi wiped her dirty face. I'll do it now. Chapter 3554. Gu Zishi realized that her appearance was in a mess as her gaze swiftly shot towards the tightly shut door next door. She was sure that Pei Xing hadn't seen her dirty and messy appearance. Then she speedily rushed into the room and closed the door. Yiqing Luo only realized that she was in a sorry state now. Yiqing Luo shook her head as she walked back to her room and started to wash up. By the time the both of them appeared in the main hall, Pei Xing had already prepared breakfast and was preparing it. Old Lai was already seated at the dining table and started to eat. Yiqing Luo's vision fell onto the other side of the dining table, on the man who was drinking his tea elegantly. Why are you here so early in the morning? Xiao Yinyan calmly put down his teacup. I want to see what you are going to use to let treasure gathering obtain the honor of the best trading house. Yiqing Luo didn't reply as she pulled Gu Zishi, whose head was hung low, not knowing what she was thinking about, to sit by the dining table. Pei Xing hurriedly filled a bowl of porridge and placed it in front of Yiqing Luo. Immediately after, he filled another bowl and placed it in front of Gu Zishi. Gu Zishi coincidentally raised her hand to take the wooden chopsticks on the table. He raised his hand and touched Pei Xing's hand. Pei Xing's hand shook as he speedily put down the porridge and retracted his hand. That handsome face with his drooping eyes drifted erratically. Gu Zishi's pupils contracted as she stood up abruptly and speedily held Pei Xing's hand. Her fair little hand held the man's big palm tightly. Although Pei Xing looked extremely slender, but his palm was half the size of Gu Zishi's. Gu Zishi used both her hands to hold Pei Xing's hand tightly. Your hand, why is it so cold? Gu Zishi asked worriedly. Did you keep watch at the medical hall for the entire night? The lady's soft hand was as smooth as silk. It even carried a lady's unique fragrance. Pei Xing only felt that the pair of hands which was holding him was like a ball of raging fire, burning incessantly. His heart was being burnt by this raging fire as his heart started to beat wildly. What on earth was going on? In the past, no matter how intimate the both of them were, he wouldn't feel any inappropriateness or discomfort. Why? Now, as long as his little sister got close to him, he couldn't control his own body, his own thoughts? Was it because there were other people around? Or, without hesitation, Pei Xing quickly withdrew her hand from Gu Zishi's grasp. He lowered his head and said in a low voice, I'm fine. Don't worry. Hurry up and have your breakfast. Gu Zishi was stunned. She looked down at her hands that had been freed, and her eyelashes trembled slightly. He raised his head and stared at Pei Xing. However, Pei Xing averted her gaze, not daring to look at her. He even went straight to the backyard. I'm going to prepare the decoction and send it to the clinic later. After saying that, he rushed into the backyard. Gu Zishi stared at Pei Xing's departing figure with an indescribably subtle expression on her face. She stood in front of the dining table in a daze. Yiqing Luo was by her side. He could clearly feel Gu Zishi's trembling body. Yiqing Luo sighed as she stretched out her hand to pull Gu Zishi's sleeve and pressed her down on the chair. Don't push me too hard, fill your stomach first, we still have work to do later. Gu Zishi didn't say a word as she lowered her head and mechanically picked up the chopsticks, eating the porridge in silence. Looking at the distracted Gu Zishi, Yiqing Luo heaved a long sigh as she patted her shoulder. Chapter 3555. Xiao Yinyan shook his head. I'm not sure about that. Why are you looking for a woman with a scar on her face? Publicity. Yiqing Luo replied. Xiao Yinyan paused for a moment, a trace of surprise appearing on his face. The item you want to bid on at the auction is something that can remove marks from a woman's face? Yiqing Luo snapped her fingers. Smart. Xiao Yinyan frowned. Since you know how to refine pills, why don't you directly refine pills that can raise profound strength? Something that can remove the marks on a woman's face. No matter how effective it is, there won't be that many people who would want to bid for it. Yiqing Luo raised a finger and shook it. Young Master Qiao, don't underestimate women's craziness for their looks. As long as it's effective, the rich ladies and madams in Without Embroiling City will definitely beg for it. Xiao Yinyan had a look of disbelief on his face as he said, no matter where we are, we respect the strong. As long as we are strong enough, it doesn't matter what we look like. This is what you men think. Yiqing Luo smiled slyly. Want to make a bet? Xiao Yinyan raised an eyebrow. You set Princess Yu Lu up and now you want to set me up as well? Yiqing Luo giggled. Didn't you not believe it? How am I tricking you? I'm clearly giving you a chance to prove yourself. Xiao Yinyan looked at the smiling girl in front of him for a long time before he slowly smiled and said, Fine, I'll bet with you. Then it's settled. Yiqing Luo clapped her hands to seal the deal. How do you want to bet? What kind of prize? Xiao Yinyan. The bet is, whoever loses will become the other party's slave for a month. How about that? Yiqing Luo nodded. No problem. As the two of them sang together, the atmosphere at the dining table warmed up a little. Gu Zishi reluctantly drank half a bowl of porridge, then used the excuse of going to the West Cliff Mountain to collect herbs and left with the basket on her back. He had even forgotten about the promotion of the beautifying ointment. Soon after, Pei Xing and the servants of the Qiao clan carried a large pot of medicine to the medical hall. The way they left one after another made Yiqing Luo speechless. These two people. Wasn't everything fine before she moved into treasure gathering? Why were the two of them avoiding each other? Even if they couldn't pierce through the feelings of both parties. But in any case they were still siblings, okay? Love is torturous. By the time Yiqing Luo and Old Lai had finished their breakfast, Xiao Yinyan said, Do you need me to ask the Qiao family to help you find a woman with marks on her face? Yiqing Luo was just about to agree, but when the words reached the tip of her tongue she shook her head. Forget it, it's better not to. Your second sister is still fixated on the treasure gathering, and if you make a move, she will find an excuse to create trouble again. She was injured quite badly yesterday and father also said a few words to her. She probably won't bother you again before the auction, Xiao Yinyan explained. When Yiqing Luo heard that, the expression on her face congealed slightly as her lips curled into a crafty cold arc. She narrowed her eyes and there was a glint in her eyes. It embellished a cunning and bottomless starry sky. What kind of wicked idea did you come up with? Xiao Yinyan felt a chill run down his spine from the smile and the look in her eyes. Yiqing Luo propped her chin with one hand and smiled very innocently. I just suddenly thought of a strong publicity method that can absolutely make the beautifying ointment famous. Xiao Yinyan said, I feel that this method of yours will cause someone to suffer. Chapter 3556. Yiqing Luo carried the 3 bottles of beauty ointment as she walked out of the treasure gathering hall. In case City Lord Lu and Xiao Yulu did anything secretly, Yiqing Luo directly let Old Lai stay in the treasure gathering hall to take charge. After that, she and Xiao Yinyan headed towards the direction of the medical hall. The minute they reached the medical hall, Yiqing Luo saw the entrance of the medical hall surrounded by hundreds of citizens. When they saw Yiqing Luo and Xiao Yinyan, they automatically opened up a path for them to enter. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she exchanged glances with Xiao Yinyan. She was now a member of the treasure gathering hall and had offended Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden, injuring her. When the citizens saw her, they were filled with respect. There was no longer the disgust they had when they looked at her previously. Such a change. Which explained it perfectly. Yesterday Xiao Yulu's action of courting death had successfully courted her own death. And she made use of this matter to increase Pei Xing's favorable impression, which was the right thing to do. At least for now, the scale in the citizens' hearts had already leaned towards their side. Yiqing Luo and Xiao Yinyan walked into the medical hall and saw Pei Xing carrying the medicinal concoction, running back and forth. From time to time he would accompany the elderly citizens and whisper something to them. Indeed, Pei Xing was the best choice to increase the favorable impression. Sincerity was the best way to exchange for the other party's sincerity. Hearing footsteps, Pei Xing turned around and saw the two of them walking over as he immediately stood up. Why are you guys here? To see you and the citizens. Yiqing Luo swept a glance at the surroundings. These citizens were arranged in the hall at the backyard of the medical hall, with each person lying on a straw mat. If it wasn't for City Lord Lu's words and Qiao family bearing the expenses for these people, the medical hall would absolutely not take in so many citizens. Yiqing Luo estimated that there were about 80 over people left in the medical hall. And all of their faces weren't as pale as yesterday, looking rather spirited. Qiao Yulu and Qiao Yinyan had injured these citizens' internal organs when they had fought against Qiao Yulu. Generally speaking, if they weren't treated in time, their internal organs would dry up or they would bleed to death. Even if they were treated, they would need a lot of time to recuperate. Therefore, most profound practitioners would rather suffer external injuries like a severed arm or a broken knuckle than suffer any internal injuries. Fortunately, there was a medicinal concoction brewed by Gu Zishi specifically for internal injuries. It could quickly heal the damaged organs of the citizens. From the intense pain in their internal organs to the relief of their upper body, the citizens could clearly feel the changes. In addition, Pei Xing had taken care of them through the night and refused to accept any payment from the citizens. The citizens' impression and attitude towards Pei Xing had obviously changed. Moreover, when Pei Xing faced everyone's thanks, he simply scratched his head, saying that this was all Yiqing Luo's suggestion and it was his little sister who had concocted the medicinal herbs and personally brewed the medicinal concoction. As for him, he was just an errand boy who came to deliver medicine to everyone. This made the citizens even more fond of him. So when he saw Yiqing Luo, his attitude became much gentler. Yiqing Luo wanted this kind of effect. She smiled and lightly patted Pei Xing's shoulder. It's been hard on you. While taking care of everyone, don't forget to take care of your own body. If you have the chance, take a good rest. Your body isn't that good either. Chapter 3557. Yiqing Luo's voice wasn't loud, but it wasn't considered soft, as everyone in the hall could hear her. The citizens all looked over. Pei Xing's handsome face congealed slightly as he lowered his head. I know, I will take note. Yiqing Luo patted his shoulder. Look at the dark circles under your eyelids and you still say you will take note. If you don't rest, the person lying in the medical hall will be you. Pei Xing opened his mouth and wanted to rebuke. Before he could say anything, he met with the young lady's bright eyes. He was stunned as his voice was stuck in his throat. He saw the young lady walking past him and into the middle of the hall. Her temperament was outstanding, and even though she was masked with a veil, it was still extremely eye-catching. The citizens' gazes were uncontrollably congealed on her. When Yiqing Luo walked into the main hall, her bewitching eyes smiled as she looked at the crowd. If any of you are not feeling well, you can ask me. I'm an alchemist and I can take care of you. Let Ah Xing go take a rest first, his body isn't very well. The citizens looked at Pei Xing's pale complexion and the dark circles under his eyes and hurriedly said, No matter, we don't need to take special care. Boss Pei, hurry and take a rest, you can't waste your body like this. There's only 4 days left for the auction. As the boss of the Treasure Exchange Hall, you must perk up. We're fine, there's no need to specially make a trip to send us medicine. That's right, these medicines, the doctors in the medical hall all said that this is a top-grade medicine for treating internal injuries. It's a waste for us to drink it. The Treasure Exchange Hall is about to take part in the auction and your lives are usually very tight. Don't waste the medicinal herbs for us. The citizens started to speak out one by one and their tone was filled with gratitude and concern towards Pei Xing. Actually, everyone was mutual. If you treat me well, I'll treat you twice as well. Treating people sincerely would always be reciprocated. These citizens might have hurt Pei Xing, hurt the Treasure Exchange Hall before. But this was also human nature. No matter if the matter 5 years ago, the Treasure Exchange Hall embezzled and cheated the best trading house's honor was true or false. The citizens didn't mind. They might want to believe in the Treasure Exchange Hall. But they were also afraid of what if. Humans were like this, afraid of hurting themselves and hurting their own interests. Naturally, they would avoid this what if. But now the citizens' attitude towards Pei Xing had changed. It was because he believed in Pei Xing's character. He had personally verified Pei Xing's character. Listening to the citizens' words. Since 5 years ago, Pei Xing, who had never enjoyed the attention of others, actually had red eyes in front of everyone. Yiqing Luo shot him a look. Pei Xing didn't return to the treasure gathering hall to rest. He took a straw mat from the main hall and went to the inner hall to rest. Pei Xing went to rest and the task of serving medicine to the citizens fell into Yiqing Luo's hands. When Yiqing Luo delivered the medicine into the hands of the citizens, they didn't dare to receive the medicine. For them, Yiqing Luo was like a fairy. Let the fairy bring them medicine? They really didn't dare to take it. In addition, Qiao Yinyan also helped Yiqing Luo to serve the medicine to everyone. The citizens were even more terrified. Should they laugh at the blessings of their ancestors, or should they be moved and cry? She was a celestial maiden from the underworld palace who dared to offend even the Empyrean fairy and the city lord. A genius youth, the Qiao family's young master Qiao. These two big shots were giving medicine and water to a group of cannon fodder. Chapter 3558. Yiqing Luo saw the fear and uneasiness in the citizens' eyes. She smiled even more gently. Her long and narrow eyes were curved, forming a demonic and charming arc. Mysterious fairy was targeting me, so she acted without any explanation and without embroiling city. In order to protect me, young Master Qiao stepped forward, which is why he hurt you innocent people. Yiqing Luo said gently, so the reason why you are hurt is because of me. She passed a bowl of medicine into the hands of a citizen and went to fill another bowl. You don't have to feel any psychological burden, this is what we should do. No, Miss D, this matter is not your fault. Yes, we don't blame you. Don't say that. You are also innocent, this is all you lose. This person was about to complain but was interrupted by Yiqing Luo. This is without embroiling city, no matter what mysterious fairy does, it is right. The citizen swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. That's right. This was without embroiling city. Princess Yu Lu was without embroiling city's mysterious fairy. He was just an ordinary citizen. If he offended Princess Yu Lu, his ending would be terrible. Thank you, Miss D, for stopping in time. The citizen heaved a sigh of relief. Yiqing Luo shook her head with a smile. City Lord Lu is funding to take care of you and nurse your health. What you need to do is to take good care of your health. Your life is more important than anything else. The citizens held the medicine bowls and looked at Yiqing Luo gratefully. But it was also because of Yiqing Luo's words that were so gentle. The citizens slowly accepted the medicine that Yiqing Luo and Qiao Yinyan brought over with ease. After the medicine was all served, Yiqing Luo checked the pulse of the citizens who were seriously ill. Then she personally wrote a new prescription for them. He took the prescription and went to get the medicine. Qiao Yinyan also followed, with Qiao Yinyan's face scanning machine around. Yiqing Luo smoothly came to the pharmacy's storeroom. The two of them waited at the door for the apprentice to get the medicine. Qiao Yinyan leaned against the door, his black eyes stared deeply at Yiqing Luo, seemingly thinking about something. After being stared at for a long time, Yiqing Luo raised her eyelids. Why? Are you attracted by my beauty? You are very smart and very good at scheming. He crossed his arms over his chest and tilted his head slightly. Silver hair hanging on his shoulders scattered down. It made his handsome face look even more elegant and noble. In the grand hall, you deliberately worried about Brother Pei's health, and then you mentioned the treasure gathering and the grand auction. You wanted to arouse the citizens' guilt towards Brother Pei, and also indirectly wash away the bad impression the citizens have of the treasure gathering. You took care of them personally and pretended to be gentle so that the citizens would believe you. Therefore, when your skin beautifying cream appears, not only will they not question it, they'll even protect you. Qiao Yinyan paused and looked at her with a burning gaze. There was a faint smile on his face. Am I right? Can't I really worry about Xing's health? Can't I take care of them? Also, why am I not gentle? Do I need to pretend to be gentle? Yiqing Luo stared at him. Where's the trust between people? Can you trust me a little more and be less suspicious? Qiao Yinyan looked at her for some time and decisively shook his head. Towards you I can't. Yiqing Luo. Don't say it as if he knew her very well. At this moment, the pharmacy's apprentice had already brought out the medicine. Yiqing Luo took the medicine bag and walked towards the place where the medicine was brewed. Chapter 3559. But Luo. He paused as his voice deepened. You just need to remember one thing, no matter what, I will help you. Yiqing Luo paused as she frowned slightly. Between her and Qiao Yinyan, they had only known each other for a day. But somehow she felt that Qiao Yinyan's attitude towards her was too special. In the span of a day in Without Embroiling City, Yiqing Luo more or less understood from the citizens' discussions. Xiao Yinyan, this person, although he treated people gently and politely, but he exuded a faint sense of alienation. His figure was outstanding, his aura was imposing, making people unable to approach him. Why was he treating her so differently? Fell in love at first sight? No, no, no. This was impossible. Xiao Yinyan's attitude towards her was very subtle, but it didn't seem like liking her. Or was it really like what he said, he just wanted to make friends with her? Make friends? One must know when the two of them first met. She still looked like a disheveled beggar, carried away by Qiao Yulu's maid. Just like this. She could even attract Xiao Yinyan's gaze, making him think, hey, disheveled little beggar, your disheveled look has successfully attracted the attention of this young master? This thought flashed across Yiqing Luo's mind. Yiqing Luo hugged her arms and shivered. Damn it. Simply too terrifying. She didn't even turn her head back as she carried the medicine bag and walked forward quickly. Just after passing through the main hall, suddenly she heard a few noises coming from outside the medical hall. Immediately she saw 3 figures rushing into the main hall. Following closely behind them were a few guards of the medical center, who were staring at the 3 figures with vigilance. These 3 people had just rushed in. This caused the citizens in the main hall to panic. There were a few citizens who were so shocked that they hurriedly crawled to the side. This action further deepened their internal injuries. Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly as she concentrated on the 3 of them. The 3 of them were dressed in dark green robes, embroidered with a blood-like dyed flower. The 3 of them had a serious expression, their brows were filled with murderous intent. Obviously their hands were stained with a lot of blood. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. These people came to the clinic aggressively. It did not seem like they were here to see a doctor. Among the 3 of them, the one who was standing in the middle walked up quickly when he saw Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo didn't move. Behind her, the citizens sucked in a breath of cold air and whispered to her to leave. But in the blink of an eye, that person was already standing in front of Yiqing Luo. He raised his hand and grabbed towards Yiqing Luo's shoulder. He attacked with great strength and speed. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she flipped her wrist. Her slender fingers accurately grasped the man's wrist. The sound of bones breaking was extremely clear in the silent hall. The man's face paled, but he didn't make a sound. The 2 people behind him quickly stepped forward. You dare to attack? Seems like he was the one who made the first move. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she glanced coldly at that pale-faced man who was holding his hand. Who are you people? What do you want to do? The man gritted his teeth and endured the pain. I mean no harm. You say no harm and it means no harm? Making a move the minute we meet. I've also said that I don't have any ill intentions when I break your hand. Yiqing Luo sneered as her lips curled. The 2 people behind were flustered and exasperated as they were about to rush forward. Stop right there. The man whose hand was broken stopped them and looked at Yiqing Luo. Is young Lady D Luo young Lady D? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Yes. Will young lady please make a trip with us? That man said. Chapter 3560. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laughed. If you want to politely invite me to follow you, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? Those few people exchanged glances but didn't reply. The voices of the surrounding citizens were filled with fear and astonishment. Aren't these mercenaries from the Blood Mercenary Group? That's right. They're from the Blood Mercenary Group. Their clothes have the Blood Mercenary Group's logo. Why would the Blood Mercenary Group's people come to look for Miss D? Could it be that Princess Yulu had invited the Blood Mercenary Group for help? When the citizens heard the name Blood Mercenary Group, they were all stunned. Mercenary groups like these were usually only seen in the wild or in extremely dangerous places. It was rare to see mercenaries roaming around the city. Especially the second-ranked Blood Mercenary Group in the Earth Realm. It was even more impossible for ordinary citizens like them to see them. But now, the moment the Blood Mercenary Group's mercenaries appeared, 3 of them appeared. The citizens' first reaction was, Princess Yulu had invited the Blood Mercenary Group's mercenaries to deal with Miss D. There was a subtle change in the expressions of the citizens. The gazes towards the Blood Mercenary Group were filled with disgust rather than fear. The 3 of them who were stared at by the citizens had an ugly expression as they frowned and stared at Yiqing Luo, Miss D, don't waste our time. When Yiqing Luo heard the citizens' discussion, the expression on her face had already concealed the sharpness from earlier. Her slender brows were knitted tightly as her tone was worried. Did something happen to Zixi? She mentioned Gu Zixi name. The eyes of the mercenary whose hand was broken sunk slightly. Follow us and you'll know. Noticing the change in the three mercenaries' expressions, Yiqing Luo's heart thumped and didn't continue to tangle with them. Lead the way. The three of them turned around and were about to leave. Wait. A man's panting voice was heard from behind. Pei Xing rushed up quickly, totally not fearing the mercenary's murderous aura as he pounced forward and placed both hands on one of the mercenary's shoulders. What did you say? What happened to Zixi? Pei Xing's handsome face was filled with anxiety and panic. Having just woken up, he rushed over without even putting on his shoes. Her clothes were slightly disheveled, and a few strands of her black hair had loosened from the crown on her head. He was in an extremely sorry state. The mercenary's face darkened, and just as he was about to raise his hand to push away the hands on his shoulders, but just as he moved, however, he found that his shoulders seemed to be pressed down by a huge rock, and he was unable to move even half a step. What kind of strength was that? He was a mercenary of the Bloody Mercenary group. He was actually pressed down by a weak-looking piece of trash to the point where he couldn't move. Say something. What happened to Zixi? Pei Xing became increasingly anxious when he saw the mercenary's gloomy expression and his silence. He couldn't help but increase the strength of his hands. The mercenary's facial features twitched in pain, and his face gradually turned pale. He struggled to break free from Pei Xing's hands. The more he struggled, the more Pei Xing thought about it, the more flustered he felt. His mind was filled with Gu Zixi's smile. His heart and his throat felt like it was being choked by someone, making it hard for him to breathe. Just as the mercenary's body couldn't take the load, his legs bent and was about to be pressed onto the ground. A fair hand moved slightly. Chapter 3561. That profound energy had no attack power at all. But it made Pei Xing move his hands away from the mercenary's shoulders. Ah Xing, calm down. Yiqing Luo walked up and blocked Pei Xing's body. Let's follow them to take a look. Pei Xing looked extremely dejected. When his hands left the mercenary's body, his slender body staggered a few steps back. I can't calm down. Zixi. She went to such a dangerous place like West Cliff Mountain because of me. If anything happens to her, I will never forgive myself. He muttered softly. His voice was slightly choked. Don't guess blindly, the Blood Mercenary group didn't say anything happened to Zixi. Yiqing Luo sighed and looked at the three mercenaries. Lead the way. The three mercenaries looked at each other with an ugly expression and quickly turned to leave the clinic. Pei Xing hurriedly chased after them. Yiqing Luo instructed the citizens and passed the medicine bag to the medical hall's apprentice as she followed up behind them. She had just reached the entrance when she saw Qiao Yinyan following her. She paused her footsteps. Don't follow me. Qiao Yinyan shook his head. Miss Gu followed the Blood Mercenary group to West Cliff Mountain. Now that they are here, it must be related to Miss Gu. West Cliff Mountain is too dangerous, I have to follow you. Go back to the treasure gathering and ask Old Lai to rush to West Cliff Mountain. Yiqing Luo wasn't sure if the Blood Mercenary group had been bribed by Qiao Yulu and deliberately set up a trap, so it was better to let Old Lai come over. Even without the seniors from the Hell Palace, I can still protect you. Qiao Yinyan replied seriously. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. Because of Qiao Yulu, I already have a subtle relationship with the Qiao family. You are the eldest young master of the Qiao family. If anything happens to you because of me, Master Qiao will not let me off. No. Qiao Yinyan replied without any hesitation. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Are you so sure? Qiao Yinyan nodded. No matter what happens to me, I am willing to do it. Father will not blame you for this, absolutely not. Yiqing Luo. She felt a shiver when she heard these words from Qiao Yinyan's mouth. Willingly. Why does it sound like something a pitiful male antagonist would say to the female lead? Yiqing Luo took a deep breath and rubbed her arms. You don't mind, but I mind. I don't want to be involved with the Qiao family in any way. As she walked out of the clinic, she continued, to be honest, I don't mind being friends with you, but I don't need more progress. If Qiao Yinyan suffered some kind of injury because of her, even if family head Qiao really didn't care, Yiqing Luo still owed the Qiao family a favor. he would still be involved with the Qiao family. The Qiao family was a large family that coexisted with City Lord Lu's faction in Without Embroiling City. Once he was tainted by this kind of aristocratic family, it would be very troublesome. Her only goal now was to find Zhou Xian. Then they would search for her biological parents. Qiao Yinyan didn't reply. Behind him there was no sound of footsteps following. Yiqing Luo didn't turn back as she walked straight ahead. He had only taken a few steps. Qiao Yinyan's somewhat hoarse voice came from behind her. Do you love him very much? Yiqing Luo's footsteps stopped abruptly as she frowned. She didn't quite understand the meaning behind Qiao Yinyan's question. But she didn't have any hesitation. Chapter 3562. Qiao Yinyan didn't speak for a long time. Yiqing Luo remained silent for a moment as she sensed that the bloody mercenary group's presence was getting further and further away. She didn't bother about Qiao Yinyan anymore as she hurried towards the direction of the presence. The wind brought Qiao Yinyan's deep voice. What a pity. Very, very slight. Almost inaudible. Pity? What's a pity? Yiqing Luo was stunned, but very quickly she threw this matter to the back of her mind. She hurriedly chased after him. West Cliff Mountain. Although this West Cliff Mountain was called a mountain, but at the entrance at first glance, it was an extremely dangerous and terrifying dense forest. Behind the lush trees were towering mountains that pierced through the clouds. But on this mountain range, there was an extremely strange black yin qi floating, constantly twining. When Yiqing Luo walked to the West Cliff Mountain, in an instant she felt that even the sky seemed to have darkened. It made one's heart inexplicably surged with a sense of oppression. This dense forest was similar to the forest that she had seen previously. After stepping into the periphery, it was basically a row of ancient trees, covering the sky and the sun. The lush branches and leaves covered everything. The only difference was, it was probably that this forest was more like a wild forest. There was a dangerous atmosphere in all directions, making one's heart turn cold. After Pei Xing stepped into the West Cliff Mountain, the expression on his face became more and more grave. His hands that were hanging by his side clenched and clenched from time to time. Until they walked into the forest for a while, Yiqing Luo could vaguely see those layers of mountains not far away. Perhaps it was because the bloody mercenary group had already cleared the route along the way, so they didn't meet with any danger. Just that the deeper they walked, Yiqing Luo felt, the stronger the sense of crisis. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed slightly. The danger of the West Cliff Mountain, your mercenary group should be clear about it. Under the circumstances of bringing Zixi along, you still managed to explore so deep? The three mercenaries who were walking in front had an ugly expression on their faces. We are here to complete a mission, not to play. Since the mission is dangerous, we shouldn't have agreed to bring Zixi along. Yiqing Luo's originally calm heart couldn't be controlled as it started to palpitate uneasily. The mercenary who had his right arm broken heard this. The pain in his arm and the girl's overbearing attitude made the suppressed anger in his heart surge. Who do you think you are? How dare you point your fingers in front of me? It was not because of Bloody that Miss Gu was trapped in Xia Mountain. It's because of you, this useless brother. He pointed angrily at Pei Xing. Pei Xing's face paled. Trapped in the West Cliff Mountain? For me? What do you mean by that? What happened to Zixi? The mercenary snorted coldly. To pick some essence-gathering grass. They say that it can be paired with other herbs to strengthen your body. Pei Xing's expression seemed as if it had frozen on his face, and it was completely pale. Now isn't the time to blame yourself. Yiqing Luo patted Pei Xing's shoulder. Let's rush over to take a look first. Pei Xing gritted his teeth and nodded with reddened eyes. The three mercenaries looked at Pei Xing with hatred and disgust. But they didn't continue to speak as they quickly moved forward. Yiqing Luo had been paying attention to the mercenaries' reactions. And it was even more certain that Gu Zixi and the bloody mercenary group had some kind of close relationship. Otherwise, the second-ranked gold-ranked mercenary group in the Earth Realm. Chapter 3563. Even if Gu Zixi had once saved the bloody mercenary group's leader, that wouldn't make the bloody mercenary group hate Pei Xing just because Gu Zixi was in danger. Yiqing Luo concealed the deep meaning in her eyes as she followed behind them. Walking deeper, they walked for about half an incense's time. Yiqing Luo felt that not far ahead, there were quite a number of experts' aura gathered. There were also figures floating and low voices of conversation. Someone heard the commotion over here and hurriedly went forward. Have you brought the person? That person was also dressed in the bloody mercenary group's uniform. His face was filled with worry. When he rushed over, his vision immediately fixed on Yiqing Luo. His face was filled with joy as he pounced towards Yiqing Luo. You are the D Luo that Zishi mentioned, right? You can definitely save her, right? Yiqing Luo moved sideways, avoiding that person as she sized up the person in front of her. The man was about 20 years old, handsome, and his brows were filled with anxiety. Assistant Group Leader. A few mercenaries came up from the front. Group Leader is rushing us. That man who was addressed as Assistant Group Leader clenched his fists. Miss D, you must save Zishi. Yiqing Luo looked at the few mercenaries in front of her. Their faces were filled with anxiety and worry. Especially the Assistant Group Leader. He was extremely worried about Gu Zishi. Obviously, this Assistant Group Leader's feelings towards Gu Zishi were not ordinary. Yiqing Luo subconsciously looked at Pei Sheng. Pei Sheng's body was trembling slightly as he quickly walked towards the direction where the mercenaries came from. The weeds and vines on the ground wrapped around his legs. He didn't feel anything as he forcefully pulled his legs closer to that side. Yiqing Luo's brows knitted even tighter as she chased up while asking the Assistant Group Leader beside her, "What happened?" Zishi said that she smelled the essence-gathering grass and insisted on coming inside to pick the herbs. A group of us followed over to help. Speaking of this, the Assistant Group Leader's expression turned ugly as he glanced at Pei Sheng's direction and retracted his gaze. When Zishi was picking the essence-gathering grass, she alarmed the magical beasts in this area. The magical beasts' actions were too sudden, and before we had time to take action, Zishi was blown to the other side by the magical beast's breath. I don't know if she stepped on something or if there's an array there. Zishi disappeared into thin air. Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction where the Assistant Group Leader was pointing. Not far away there were a few stalks of essence-gathering grass growing under a few ancient trees. There were also many rare herbs of excellent quality mixed in. As an apothecary, he couldn't resist the temptation of medicinal herbs. It was no wonder that Gu Zishi wanted to pick these herbs. And further ahead. That was the direction Gu Zishi had been flung in, the direction the Vice Leader had said. It was still an ancient forest that covered the sky and the earth. There was nothing special about it. Only by going there personally would he know why Gu Zishi had disappeared into thin air. Why do you know to look for me? How can you be so sure that I can save Zishi? Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at the Vice Group Leader as her half-squinted eyes flashed a ray of brilliance. Vice Group Leader didn't notice Yiqing Luo's gaze as he kept staring at the direction where Gu Zishi disappeared, his eyes filled with worry. After Zishi disappeared, we heard Zishi's voice shouting. Voice. Yiqing Luo frowned. Shout what? Chapter 3564. Yiqing Luo didn't respond immediately as her brows knitted even tighter. Seeing that Yiqing Luo didn't take any action, the Vice Leader was obviously anxious. Miss D, Zishi kept calling your name before she disappeared. You must save her, right? The more he spoke, the more anxious he became. He stretched out his hand to grab Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and moved her wrist to block the Vice Leader's outstretched hand. Zishi is my friend, I will try my best to save her. The Vice Leader was restless. I will go with you. I must confirm Zishi's safety. Yiqing Luo looked at him and shifted her gaze to the place where Gu Zishi disappeared. Gu Zishi disappeared into thin air. It was too strange. If she didn't remember wrongly. Before Gu Zishi left treasure gathering, she was still at treasure gathering having breakfast. But now, after she disappeared, she was able to accurately let the mercenaries run to the medical hall to look for her. How did Gu Zishi know that she would go to the medical hall? That person who asked for help, was it really Gu Zishi or someone else? If it was someone else, then what was the motive of the person behind it? There was a very uneasy feeling spreading in her heart. So uneasy that even the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip was emitting a scorching heat. Profound phoenix ring. There was a reaction. Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly lit up as she quickly lowered her head and stroked the profound phoenix ring with her slender fingers. The profound phoenix ring was the only medium for her to contact Zhou Xian. As long as the distance was close, she could use the profound phoenix ring to form a reaction with the profound dragon ring on Zhou Xian's hand. There was a reaction that meant, She could sense Zhou Xian. Yiqing Luo's eyes stared at the flickering red light on the profound phoenix ring. She stared for a while. There was no special change on the surface of the profound phoenix ring. It was as if the scorching heat from before was just an illusion. She pursed her lips and couldn't hide the disappointment in her eyes. It seemed it was really an illusion because she was too uneasy. Miss D? Miss D. She heard a few calls. Yiqing Luo regained her senses and saw the vice leader frowning and looking at her unhappily. He even waved his hands in front of her face. At this time, they had already reached the place where the bloody mercenaries were standing. The bloody mercenary group had about 60 to 70 people. The most eye-catching person was a tall and slender woman who was surrounded in the middle of the crowd. The reason why the woman was so eye-catching was not only because of her unique temperament. There was also the greenish-black blood-red uniform that was different from everyone else's. The woman was dressed in a tan-colored eye-catching attire. Red embroidery embroidered the outline of a blood-like flower. The woman's appearance was very elegant, like an orchid in an empty valley, exuding a pure beauty. However, the woman's eyes were firm and her gaze was like a torch. It made the woman's beautiful face look completely different. A powerful aura of arrogance that shook the heavens and shook the world. The two extremely contradictory temperaments fused together. But Yiqing Luo didn't feel out of place at all. On the contrary, he felt that this woman should be like this. Leader of the bloody mercenary group. Yiqing Luo greeted the lady. The woman raised her eyebrows, her torch-like eyes stared at Yiqing Luo. How did you know I am the group leader? Generally speaking. A mercenary group unless it was a female mercenary group, otherwise. There would basically not be a situation where a woman became the leader. So if they didn't explain. Chapter 3565. Yiqing Luo was neither fast nor slow as she met the lady's gaze. I can tell that your aura is the most obvious here. Looks like I have to rein in my aura in future. The lady laughed lightly but there wasn't any smile in between her brows. That's right, I'm the leader of blood color, Su Qingbing. You're indeed like what Zishi said, a rare talent. No wonder she was the leader of the second-ranked gold-ranked mercenary group. Every move she made was filled with oppressive might. Yiqing Luo's lips curled. Now isn't the time to be courteous. Leader Su must be very anxious. Of course. Su Qingbing's vision looked towards the direction where Gu Zishi disappeared. If I wasn't the leader of blood color, I would have followed up the moment Zishi disappeared. It's right not to follow her. Yiqing Luo could tell the sincerity in Su Qingbing's eyes. What she said wasn't just a polite greeting. Yiqing Luo could tell that the relationship between her and Gu Zishi was very deep. As a group leader, there are many things that you have no choice but to do. No matter what happens, your identity is first the leader, then the brother, then the companion. Yiqing Luo understood this point very well. If it was the time when she was in the World Mercenary Group, she would have made the same choice as Su Qingbing. It wasn't that she didn't care about Gu Zishi or her own brother. But the moment an unknown danger fell on them as the leader, as the backbone, the entire group's morale would be disrupted. The backbone absolutely couldn't have any accidents. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Su Qingbing's expression changed slightly. Are you also a group leader? No. Yiqing Luo shook her head and changed the topic. Did you send anyone over to check on the situation there? Su Qingbing didn't pursue further. Her worry towards Gu Zishi was greater than her curiosity towards Yiqing Luo. She replied, the magical beasts in this territory have been loitering around the surroundings. Once we make a move, there's a possibility of attracting the nearby magical beasts and they will attack us together. I'm not sure what happened to Zishi and if we act rashly, I'm afraid we might hurt her. Yiqing Luo nodded. I'll go over to take a look first. You guys help to lure the magical beasts away after that. Don't act rashly, wait here for me and Zishi to return. It didn't matter if Gu Zishi's sudden appearance was an accident or a trap. She had to bring Gu Zishi back personally. If it was a trap, then this trap was definitely targeted at her. Saying that, Yiqing Luo leapt upwards and skimmed towards the front. Just as he steadied himself, he sensed that someone was following him. She turned her head and saw Pei Xing's pale face. I want to go too. Yiqing Luo didn't reject it, only saying, be careful, follow me closely, and speedily headed towards the direction where Gu Zishi disappeared to. Yiqing Luo's movements were extremely fast, but it still alarmed the magical beast. Su Qingbing and the others immediately tangled with the magical beasts. giving Yiqing Luo and Pei Xing a chance to get close to them. The two of them approached the place where Gu Zixi disappeared. Yiqing Luo felt a gust of chilly wind blowing towards her. This is bad, lass. This is a formation. In his mind, old man Song's surprised voice resounded. Yiqing Luo's heart trembled. Formation? Which means that Zixi disappeared into thin air because she fell into the formation. You can say that. Old man Song was solemn. This aura is very strange. There's something strange about this formation. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. Ah Xing, it's very dangerous. Hold on tight to me. She stretched out her hand to grab Pei Xing's arm. But before her hand could touch Pei Xing, her 5 fingers grabbed empty air. Where was Pei Xing's shadow behind her? Not only that, they were no longer surrounded by the lush forest from before. Even the blood mercenary group and the others had disappeared without a trace. Yiqing Luo frowned fiercely. This was the illusion of the formation or another space. The situation had become more dangerous. She couldn't find Gu Zixi and Pei Xing had disappeared. She had to quickly decode the formation in this place. Based on Old Man Song's words, they had stayed here for too long. It would be extremely harmful to Gu Zixi and Pei Xing. Yiqing Luo was preparing to sense the direction of the yin qi in the formation. Suddenly, a steady and powerful footstep was heard from behind. There was an extremely familiar scent lingering in his nostrils. Chapter 3566. Lil Luo. A familiar gentle voice called out her name. That voice was gentle and gentle. As though the name that voice called out was that person's most pitiful name. In Yiqing Luo's pupils, it was reflected with that tall figure. Like the scorching sun, using its scorching temperature to make all the fear and uneasiness in her heart completely dissipate. The man's face was peerless and all the light in the void seemed to have gathered on him. His jet-black hair fluttered, his purple robe billowed. The white fog which lingered in all directions surrounded him, floating in spirals. His entire person was indescribably elegant, indescribably evil. Yiqing Luo's heart almost jumped out from her throat. Her eyes stared at him. Staring at him greedily. Lil Luo. The man opened his mouth, his voice was so gentle that water could be squeezed out. He slowly walked towards her. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled slightly, her feet were unable to move. Her slender fingers clenched tightly, as though she was suppressing the throbbing in her heart. Ah Xian. A trembling voice spilled out from her pink lips. Her eyelashes fluttered violently. Her eyes almost turned red. The man in front of her wasn't he. Xian. It's me. Xian's peach blossom eyes congealed deeply on Yiqing Luo's face. Lil Luo, it's me. He walked towards her. His imposing figure was tall and straight, bringing along a unique sandalwood scent which belonged to him. Yiqing Luo, however, took a step back. Her slender fingers were deeply embedded into her flesh. She pursed her lips hard until her lips turned white. The man's footsteps which was nearing her stopped as his eyes stared at her. As though he understood what she was thinking, he laughed. This is an illusion, but I am not an illusion. Yes. From the moment the man appeared, Yiqing Luo was certain that this man in front of her was an illusion in the illusion. It was an illusion through her inner heart. Trying to make use of Xian to confuse her heart. She didn't move, nor did she break the illusion in front of her. Just because she missed Xian. Very much. Very much. Thinking that even though she knew this man in front of her was an illusion, she still wanted to see his face. Hearing him call her little Luo, after the man explained, the girl still did not have any reaction. He sighed helplessly and immediately raised his left hand, using the back of his hand to face Yiqing Luo. Lil Luo, in order to find you I've spent quite a lot of effort. If you're unable to recognize me at first sight I'll be very sad. On the man's left hand, there was a red jade ring flowing with red light. Vaguely, a dragon head could be seen moving with the flowing light, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The Netherworld Dragon Ring. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she speedily raised her hand. As expected, the profound phoenix ring on her finger was also flashing with a red light. They were extremely agitated. It seemed to be communicating with the Netherworld Dragon Ring. Only the appearance of the Netherworld Dragon Ring could cause such a huge reaction from the Netherworld Phoenix Ring. The person in front of them was really Zhou Xian. The change in the profound phoenix ring that she had sensed outside the array was not an illusion. Now, can you prove my identity? Zhou Xian chuckled, his charming peach blossom eyes raised, looking very elegant. Zhou Xian. Yiqing Luo bit her lower lip as her eyes turned even redder. Zhou Xian opened up his arms. I'm very angry that you can't recognize me at first sight. How are you going to coax me? The moment his arms opened up, the young lady had already dashed into his arms. Both her hands were tightly wrapped around his waist. Chapter 3567. Familiar body temperature. Familiar smell. Everything filled her nose. Zhou Xian, who felt that he was so needed, gave a soft laugh. His head rested on the young lady's head. His strong arms wrapped her petite body tightly in his arms. A familiar warm kiss fell on her face. Yiqing Luo almost choked with sobs. Zhou Xian, I missed you so much. I missed you too. Zhou Xian's lips finally fell on her lips. The gentle touch swept away all the haze in her heart. He forcefully hugged her tightly, as if he was afraid of being separated from her again. Yiqing Luo tiptoed, hooked her arms around his neck and took the initiative to kiss him, until she was somewhat out of breath. The two of them then separated by some distance. Their foreheads touched each other's forehead. His eyes reflected the other party's face. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. We haven't seen each other for a few days, but it feels like we haven't seen each other for a few months. I feel that I really can't leave you. From the time she woke up in the Earth realm until today. It was only 3 days. But she felt that she hadn't seen Zhou Xian for a very long time. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Zhou Xian's expression suddenly congealed as he suddenly pressed her shoulders and pulled apart the distance between them. He lowered his eyes and stared at her with his burning black eyes. How many days? I've been looking for you for more than half a month. More than half a month. Yiqing Luo was stunned. I just arrived at Without Embroiling City. Today is the 3rd day, how could it be? She paused. Oh yes, I woke up 3 days ago near the city gate of Without Embroiling City. I was especially disheveled and unkempt. Zhou Xian couldn't possibly lie to her. Zhou Xian had been looking for her for half a month. Which meant, she had actually stayed in the Earth realm for more than half a month. Before she woke up 3 days ago. She might have been in a deep sleep all this while. This could also explain why she looked like she walked out of the beggar's sect when she woke up. Do you still remember where you were swept to in the upper realms passageway? Zhou Xian's expression turned grave. Yiqing Luo shook her head. My memory is, when I was in the passage to the upper realm I was sucked away by a force and fainted. When I opened my eyes again, it was 3 days ago when the mysterious fairy of Without Embroiling City returned to the city. Zhou Xian frowned slightly. Do you know who brought me to Without Embroiling City? When she had been in the passageway, she hadn't noticed what power had sucked her away. Zhou Xian remained silent for a moment. It's the Nether Palace. Palace of Darkness. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly contracted. Why did the people from Palace of Darkness suck me away for? Logically speaking, I lost my way in the passageway and should have been teleported to any other plane. However, when I opened my eyes, I was already in Without Embroiling City in the land. If it was someone from the Dark Palace, shouldn't they be trying their best to stop her from coming to the Earth domain? Why did they send her to the Earth domain? He even chose Without Embroiling City, which was the furthest away from Shadowless City. Most importantly, there were no signs of injury on her body. Her profound jade heart was still there. The sacred beast pearl in her body was still there. Nothing was missing. This wasn't the style of the Palace of Darkness. No matter how hard Yiqing Luo scratched her head, she couldn't think of a reason. Zhou Xian was also unable to guess the motive of the Palace of Darkness's action. Chapter 3568. Yiqing Luo raised her head in his arms. Her chin rested on his chest as she blinked. Are Kitty Cat and the rest with you? Zhou Xian's kiss landed on her nausea again. Kitty Cat has been looking for you all this time and suffered a lot. Kitty Cat, that lass. Just thinking about it, Yiqing Luo could guess what kind of worrying things Kitty Cat would do to find her. She tightened her arms around Zhou Xian's waist. Ah Xian, are you in Shadowless City? Why is it that after I reach the Earth realm, the profound Phoenix Ring and your profound Dragon Ring are unable to sense each other? Aren't the profound phoenix ring and the profound dragon ring separated by a space or different planes so they are unable to sense each other? We have indeed reached Shadowless City. I know that if you are still in the Earth realm, you will definitely come to Shadowless City to look for me. Zhou Xian held her hand as his slender fingers gently caressed the profound phoenix ring on her fingertip. Logically speaking, the profound phoenix ring and profound dragon ring's connection should be able to sense each other even if they are separated by two cities. His fingers interlaced with hers and interlocked with hers. He continued, not only the profound dragon ring is unable to sense you, even the blood connection between you and Kitty Cat has no reaction. Yiqing Luo replied, right, I am also unable to sense Kitty Cat. What is going on? Initially I thought you were not in the Earth realm. When Zhou Xian said this, his arms uncontrollably wrapped around Yiqing Luo. His strong arms and the masculine pheromones emanating from the man's body were proclaiming how lucky he was in his heart. Fortunate that he had finally found her. Did you think I had been swept into another plane? Yiqing Luo hugged him back. Yes. I almost barged into the upper realms passage. Zhou Xian's chin rubbed against her shoulder. Should I punish you for making me so worried? When he spoke, his breathing was very shallow. Lightly sprinkled on her skin. Her cheeks were slightly flushed and because of his words, her body was slightly hot. But her rationality had not been lost because of his seductive charm. She changed the topic. How did you know I was here? How did you come in? As soon as she finished speaking, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Yiqing Luo could obviously feel the man's body tensing up in an instant. Although it was only for a moment. But Yiqing Luo was certain that she had truly felt it. After tensing up for a moment, the man's body relaxed again, and his tone was very relaxed. I heard that a woman called Di Luo made a bet with the Empyrean lady of Without Embroiling City. She said that she would take out a treasure that would shock the entire Earth domain during Without Embroiling City's auction that is held once every 5 years. At this point he paused. His voice was low, magnetic, and hoarse. When I heard the name Di Luo, I rushed over. He laughed. His laughter was clear and smooth, coupled with his magnetic husky voice. His voice was like a feather tickling her heart. Di Luo. Is little Luo so impatient to take her husband's surname? Yiqing Luo's face turned even redder. However, the more Zhou Xian spoke, the more relaxed he became. The more he teased her, the more he diverted her attention. If she hadn't noticed the man's tension just now, she would really be cheated by the current Zhou Xian. Chapter 3569. Ever since she stepped into the West Cliff Mountains formation, Yiqing Luo had an ominous premonition. She had always felt that this formation was a ruse from the start. A scheme to make use of Gu Zixi to lure her into the formation. If it wasn't for Gu Zixi, she wouldn't have appeared in the West Cliff Mountain, nor would she have stepped into this formation. If Zhou Xian only heard her name and came to Without Embroiling City, it was absolutely impossible for him to know that she was in the West Cliff Mountain. Thinking back to Zhou Xian's first reaction earlier, Zhou Xian could find her. I'm afraid. It wasn't that simple. Yiqing Luo's expression suddenly turned solemn. She raised her hand and grabbed his lapel, then frowned. Ah Xian, tell me, how did you find me? Her eyes locked onto him, saying word by word, I want to hear the truth. Zhou Xian looked at her deeply. Then he sighed helplessly, little Luo, sometimes don't be so smart. Ah Xian. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips, her slender brows knitted into a ball. I don't want you to get hurt because of me. Previously, when he went to the upper realm, he left a trace of consciousness in her pendant, protecting her. But in fact he was injured in the upper realm. And then his consciousness was injured in order to protect her. I am with you because I like you, I love you, I want to be with you forever. Yiqing Luo looked at him closely, her tone was very sincere. I don't want to increase your burden just because I am with you. I don't want you to get hurt every time because of me. Speaking of this, her voice was already choking a little. She wrapped her arms around Zhou Xian's neck and buried herself deeply in his arms. Ah Xian, I don't want anything to happen to you, just like you don't want to see any accidents happen to me. We love each other the same way. The young lady's sincere confession. This was the young lady putting her softest part in front of him. His heart felt like there was a warm current spreading. Zhou Xian looked at her deeply. His eyes were burning like a raging fire. After some time he seemed to admit defeat as he leaned against Yiqing Luo's slender body and sighed deeply. Lil Luo, I can't win you in words, nor can I escape your eyes. Because what I said makes sense. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. So in order to find me, what harm have you done to yourself? The flames on Zhou Xian's body instantly dissipated and he looked at her pitifully as he spoke in a low voice. Then you can't be angry. Yiqing Luo, her heart softened at the sudden cuteness. What should she do? That was against the rules. The man in front of her had a face of peerless elegance and a pair of shimmering peach blossom eyes that were filled with a pitiful feeling of being wronged. Anyone who looked at him would feel heartache. It was like déjà vu of a little puppy. This was completely different from when Zhou Xian was poisoned by the love worm. The Zhou Xian at that time, although it still felt like a large loyal dog. But at that time he was like a blank piece of paper. Other than being cute, there was only being cute. But now, Zhou Xian's pitiful look. Between his brows and that outstanding imposing manner, there was a kind of mischievous aura. The two merged together. Yiqing Luo. Nosebleed. The more she looked at him, the cuter he looked. What should she do? This man must have known that she had no immunity to his face. Always intentionally using the seduction tactic on her. Chapter 3570. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath. I'm not angry. Really? Zhou Xian blinked his peach blossom eyes, vividly displaying his innocence. Yiqing Luo took another deep breath and clenched her fists. Really? Zhou Xian revealed a satisfied smile. That smile was as dazzling as the warm sunlight, making his peerlessly handsome face appear even more pure and clean. A pair of shimmering black eyes were like rippling water, extremely dazzling. Yiqing Luo couldn't bear it anymore. She raised her hands and covered Zhou Xian's face. Two small palms covered the man's mouth and eyes. Hurry up and tell me, I'll be angry if you don't. Yiqing Luo really felt that her overlord was developing more and more into a coquettish fox. From time to time he would seduce her soul. He wouldn't stop until he saw that she was head over heels in love with him. If this evildoer was seen by others, wouldn't it shock the world? Zhou Xian didn't tease her anymore. His eyes were full of tender smiles, like ripples of spring water, unparalleled. He hugged the young lady tightly and spoke in a low voice. Calm down and listen to me. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips, her face was full of displeasure. I'm very calm now. Zhou Xian caressed her fine black hair and immediately released her body as he took a step back. Yiqing Luo frowned. The man's temperature disappeared instantly. She felt inexplicably flustered. She wanted to reach out and grab him again. But halfway she clenched her fists and retracted them. She pursed her lips hard and looked up at him, waiting for his answer. After taking 2 steps back, the man gave a low laugh. That laughter was filled with helplessness. He opened his arms. His purple robe fluttered without any wind. Like rolling clouds floating dust. Yiqing Luo's hand on her chest, clenched even tighter. A pair of charming eyes stared at Zhou Xian, not even daring to blink. Just at this moment, a gust of cold wind whistled past. The purple robe swayed with the wind. Swaying. Yiqing Luo discovered that Zhou Xian's body started to become transparent in the wind, as if he was going to disappear at any time. Especially in this dangerous array formation that was filled with yin qi. Zhou Xian's figure turned transparent, as though he was about to merge into one with the array. Yiqing Luo's pupils suddenly widened. A layer of mist covered the bottom of her eyes. You're in a spirit body state now. Yes. The Zhou Xian in front of him was exactly the same as Old Man Tsang. He was a spiritual body. He was actually a spiritual body. What was going on? I knew that if you knew about this you would definitely be sad. Looking at the young lady's shocked, guilty and pained expression, Zhou Xian sighed helplessly. He walked towards Yiqing Luo once again. Using this translucent spiritual body, he pulled her into his embrace. I didn't want to see you sad, that's why I didn't want to tell you. The body of the man in the spirit body state was no longer as warm as before. Instead, it carried a hint of coldness. His cold kiss landed on her forehead. I'd rather bear everything by myself than see you frown because of it. That kiss was like an icy spring, sliding down her forehead and into her body. As the kiss deepened, the man's body slowly solidified again. The temperature was also gradually rising. Chapter 3571. Yiqing Luo's heart twitched fiercely as she hugged him tightly. You fool, do you think I would want you to take risks for me? I will feel sorry for you, it will only make you feel worse. Zhou Xian smiled and patted her head, his voice softened. I can't bear to let you worry about me, so I will not let anything happen to myself. Yiqing Luo suddenly buried her head into his arms and rubbed against his chest fiercely. This action made Zhou Xian laugh out loud. Yiqing Luo raised her head, her eyes were watery. Is what you said true? Nothing will happen to you. This is true. Zhou Xian smiled and nodded. I used this method just to find out where you are. Yiqing Luo didn't respond, just looked at him deeply. The strength of her hands gradually increased. After a while she raised her lips and revealed a smile. Yes, I believe you. Zhou Xian smiled and raised his hand, his big palm pressed on her head and pressed her into his arms. At the moment when he pressed, the man's smile froze on his lips. His expression was somewhat dignified and cold. Only when he touched the young girl from the corner of his eyes, he could faintly see a trace of warmth. Of course, the man who was silent in his thoughts. He didn't notice that the moment the young girl was pressed into his arms, the smile on his face disappeared. Yiqing Luo lay in his arms, her eyes wide open. Her eyes were as black as thick ink. At a glance she couldn't see the bottom. In her mind, Old Man Song's voice continued. Girl, Zhou Xian really went all out to find you. It's not as simple as what he said. Spiritual body is equivalent to the human soul. Extracting the soul from the body will cause great damage to the body. Especially for a powerful person like Zhou Xian, his soul power is very strong. To appear here in the form of a spiritual body, he must have consumed most of his profound energy. If Zhou Xian's consciousness returns to his body, I'm afraid he will have to rest for a long time. From the moment Zhou Xian said that he would not let anything happen to her, Old Man Song refuted Zhou Xian's words in her consciousness. The more she listened, the sadder her heart became. Especially listening to Zhou Xian's clear and melodious laughter, gently comforting her. He didn't want to tell her. He didn't want her to worry. Then she would pretend that she did not know anything. She really exposed Zhou Xian in front of everyone. He was extremely worried. This would only make Zhou Xian more uncomfortable. Yiqing Luo held back the moisture in her eyes and made herself more rational. Why must he take such a risk? Only in my spiritual form can I accurately sense your location through the profound phoenix ring. It's very likely that he appeared in the formation through the connection between the Netherworld Phoenix Ring and the Netherworld Dragon Ring. That's why he happened to meet you in the formation. Old Man Song sighed. There should be a forbidden spell placed on your body. Forbidden spell? Yiqing Luo frowned. Old Man Song's voice was grave. That forbidden spell has severed your connection with everything that can create a connection with you. Didn't you notice that from the moment you woke up to the moment you entered this array formation, the profound phoenix ring, you and the beastmen and felines were unable to establish a magnetic field? Sometimes. I can't even sense what's happening to you in the outside world. Chapter 3572. Old Man Song remained silent for a moment. It has been like this for the past few days. I couldn't sense the magnetic field outside from time to time. Even when you were fighting without embroiling city's mysterious maiden, my senses were intermittent. He paused for a moment and continued. Earlier the Overlord said. He had been searching for you for half a month and my memories started from 3 days ago like you. Zhou Xian said that the person who made a move on me in the passageway was someone from the Dark Palace. Yiqing Luo's expression was gloomy. The forbidden spell on me was definitely done by the Dark Palace. Old Man Song said, after you and the Overlord met in this formation, the obstruction between you and me seemed to have reduced by a lot. Yiqing Luo asked, what is the motive of the Dark Palace to cast the forbidden spell on me? Everything that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness wanted was still with her. Could it be? The Dark Palace only wanted to cast the forbidden spell on her, so they made a move in the passageway? No. Definitely not like this. If it was really the Dark Palace. After knowing that she had made a contract with the 4 sacred beast pearls as her lifeline, it would definitely devour the 4 sacred beast pearls' energy. No matter what, it couldn't be left for her. Just as Yiqing Luo was deep in thoughts, her earlobe suddenly hurt. She groaned in pain as she raised her head and stared at the initiator. But she met with a pair of incomparably bright eyes. like a blossoming peach forest. What are you thinking about? So lost in thought? The man's hoarse voice was filled with displeasure as he said that and bit her earlobe again. A slight pain was felt from her earlobe, and it was accompanied by a numbing feeling which spread throughout her body. Yiqing Luo's cheeks were dyed red by this evil action as she stared at him angrily. The next moment the man's warm kiss extinguished all the anger in her eyes. His kiss landed on her eyes. It was mixed with the man's deep voice. Being with me, how can you be so lost in thought and still have the face to glare at me? Yiqing Luo's legs turned to jelly. She coughed lightly as her little hand clutched his clothes. No, nothing. She wanted to refute. She saw the man's faint smile. He continued decisively, I'm just thinking, where are you right now? How long will it take for you to find me after your spirit returns to your body? Or should I go look for you? Bring up this topic. The man's smiling eyes darkened for a moment. However, he still maintained a gentle smile on his face. Yiqing Luo knew. The man's mood was low because he hadn't figured out how to explain to her that he needed to recuperate after returning to his body. He had to recuperate in peace. The withdrawal of the spirit body was too harmful to the human body. Yiqing Luo pretended that she didn't notice his gloomy mood and continued to smile. I'll go look for you. I'll head over after I've settled the matter in without embroiling city. Zhou Xian rubbed her head and didn't continue Yiqing Luo's words. Instead he stretched out his hand, curled his slender fingers and scraped the tip of her nose. Look at you, no matter where you go you always make people worry. You've only woken up for 3 days and you're already at odds with Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden. And you've even been set up in such a sinister formation. Yiqing Luo held his hand. There are always unruly people who want to harm me, I'm also helpless. Chapter 3573. Soul Sucking. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened. How could there be such an array? The world is so big, nothing is too strange. Zhou Xian caressed her head. Although your willpower is strong, but if you encounter this kind of array after a long time, you will eventually be unable to guard against it. Yiqing Luo's expression changed drastically. Oh no. If it's sucking souls, Zishi and Asheng. Asheng? Zhou Xian narrowed his peach blossom eyes. The man who followed you in just now? You saw him. Yiqing Luo nodded. Do you know how he disappeared? How should I find him? Just as he finished his words, Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. She shut her mouth and widened her eyes, staring at the direction where the chill came from. The man's lips curled up, his peach blossom eyes were like a deep pool staring at her. His gaze was warm. His smile was warm. But inexplicably Yiqing Luo felt her whole body trembling. Zhou Xian's broad palm covered her hair. His slender fingers fiddled with her hair bit by bit. He smiled, clear and moist, calling him so intimately, and earlier you even took the initiative to hold his hand? Looks like you care a lot about that man called Asheng. His tone was calm and indifferent. His tone was calm and composed. But every word was like a thunder, exploding in Yiqing Luo's heart. Rub rub rub. Sounded the first level alarm. The Overlord's vinegar jar was overturned again. Yiqing Luo's entire aura instantly weakened. Both her hands automatically wrapped around the man's neck. The delicate young lady's voice was as sweet as a silver bell. With such a dear husband like you, how can I put anyone else in my eyes? Where can I find such a perfect husband like Xian in this world? So in my eyes, everyone else are just people with one mouth, one nose and 2 eyes. People, just people. She deliberately emphasized the word people, indicating that everyone else were just people. Cannon fodder that need not be taken seriously. However, the young lady's coquettish attitude didn't make the man's expression moved at all. His peach blossom eyes were still curved. Mo Yao's dark eyes were so deep that no one could tell what he was thinking. For you to say so much for him, he must be very important, he said lightly, his voice a little cold. Yiqing Luo threw herself into his arms. I swear I have no other feelings for you. Pei Xing. She called out Pei Xing's name a few times before continuing. Pei Xing has someone she likes. The reason I care about him is because there's a conflict of interest between us. If something happens to him and Zishi, I'll be in trouble in Without Embroiling City. The girl explained with a serious look in her eyes, causing the man to be unable to help but laugh. Yiqing Luo then reacted when she heard that unbearable laughter. You did it on purpose. Zhou Xian laughed, his chest vibrating. No. It would be weird if he wasn't. You are deliberately trying to trick me to coax you. Yiqing Luo was flustered, this man. When he became childish, she really had nothing to say. Zhou Xian laughed heartily. While laughing, he leaned over and whispered into her ear, I am jealous. His breath was very warm, spraying on her ear, making her involuntarily shrink back. Of course, I also want to hear you call me husband. If you call me a few more times, I won't be jealous. How about that? His next sentence successfully made Yiqing Luo blush. Chapter 3574. Zhou Xian looked at her hurriedly leaving figure as the smile in his eyes grew increasingly gentle. He watched for a while and followed up. The two of them walked side by side as they released their senses, paying attention to the surrounding movements. It was totally different from the lush forest in West Cliff Mountain. In front of them were layers upon layers of mountain ranges, undulating continuously. Yin Qi lingered around and even the air was filled with an eerie chill. Large stretches of mountain range trapped the few of them in it. Yiqing Luo and Zhou Xian had passed through quite a number of mountain ranges and treacherous mountain paths. Along the way, the two of them didn't meet with any danger. But they didn't see any other living beings appearing. Not even the presence of living beings could be sensed. No response. She had no way to ascertain where Pei Xing and Gu Zixi were in the array. Furthermore, as time went by, the influence of this array on Yiqing Luo became more and more obvious. It looked like the person who designed to lure her into this array wanted to make use of this array to suck her soul. Yiqing Luo stopped in her tracks as she pulled Zhou Xian to a clean cliff to rest. After this stretch of journey, she seemed to be walking aimlessly. But in actual fact, she had memorized the entire mountain path and terrain of the array in her mind. This array looked like it really wanted to trap her inside. Unless she could find the array eye and break this array. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to find Pei Xing and Gu Zixi. Not to mention bringing them back safely. Lil Luo or Zhou Xian looked at the young lady's increasingly pale face as his heart ached. I'll send you out. I'll save the two of them. Xian. Yiqing Luo leaned into his arms as she raised her head slightly and shook her head at him. I want to save the both of them, but I can't bear to let you take the risk. Leaving you alone in such a dangerous and sinister array, I'm even more worried. Zhou Xian was now in a spiritual body state. To put it bluntly, a spiritual body was actually a soul. This array was used to suck a person's soul. Zhou Xian was in this array and the damage he suffered was huge. If it wasn't for the fact that she was very clear that before she left the array, Zhou Xian would absolutely not leave. Otherwise she would have asked Zhou Xian to leave the array long ago. Now it was even more impossible for Zhou Xian to look for Pei Xing and Gu Zixi alone. Zhou Xian sighed helplessly as he gently stroked her hair. Their eyes met. At the same time he couldn't help but laugh out loud. They were both the same. Neither of them could leave the other in danger and leave by themselves. Since that's the case, we can only forcefully break the array. Yiqing Luo smiled. Who asked us to? Neither of us can leave each other. Zhou Xian smiled and nodded. What do you want to do? Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed slightly as an undetectable glint flashed past her eyes. The array is dead, but people are alive. Zhou Xian saw through Yiqing Luo's thoughts at one glance as he suppressed his voice and laughed softly. Looks like Lil Luo already has an idea? It can't be considered as having a solution. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved into a crafty arc. The terrain of this formation had already formed a small map in her mind. The formation was oval in shape. The surrounding layers upon layers of undulating mountains, in Yiqing Luo's mind, turned into round dots, using a thin line to connect all the round dots. Chapter 3575. Yiqing Luo pondered for a long time in her mind. She couldn't tell what exactly that totem was. Any discovery? Zhou Xian could almost guess what Yiqing Luo was thinking at the same time when he saw her expression. Yiqing Luo told Zhou Xian about her discovery and said, I feel that this totem should be the key to the array. She paused and suddenly her eyes lit up. Could it be that these mountains are the pillars of the array? If I destroy the connection point between the mountains and the array, will I be able to break this array? Looking at the smiling expression on the young lady's face, Zhou Xian's expression turned gentler. His slender fingers gently caressed the young lady's eyes. You can give it a try. When her eyes met with the man's gentle gaze, that trace of uncertainty in Yiqing Luo's heart was completely smoothed out. In her eyes there was a resolute expression. He could give it a try. This was the freedom that Xian gave her. Xian used her way to let her grow, because he understood her. So he wouldn't make the decision for her. He would also give her space to find her own way to solve it, using his way to tell her. Even if she failed, he was still around. Yiqing Luo's brows were filled with a deep smile as she suddenly leaned forward and planted a kiss on the man's lips fiercely. After that, she quickly stood up and turned into a blazing red shadow as she headed towards the mountains in front. At the moment when the young lady left, no one noticed that Dmo Xian's body had turned transparent for a moment. But very quickly, it congealed back into a solid body. As though earlier, it was just an illusion. Only, Dmo Xian's expression seemed to have understood a lot. Yiqing Luo's figure stopped at the side of the cliff. Bending slightly, she could see the bottomless abyss below. With a slight movement, stones rolled down from the side of the cliff without making any sound. Yiqing Luo confirmed her current position according to the topography in her mind. After that, from the side of the cliff, down, she leapt. Her figure fell rapidly. The young lady's red dress fluttered like a butterfly's wings. Her ears were filled with the howling of the wind, scraping against her skin. Yiqing Luo didn't release any profound energy to slow down her falling speed. Just like that, with a calm expression, he fell down without even a scream. The speed of his fall was extremely fast. In just a few breaths' time, Yiqing Luo had already fallen halfway up the mountain. But, at this moment, the girl's falling body suddenly flashed with a white light. A giant white tiger caught the girl firmly. Immediately after, the giant white tiger roared at the sky. The girl moved and a red feather fan unfolded at her fingertips. She was like a cannonball being shot out, bringing with her a majestic and thick aura as she charged towards the waist of the mountain. Like a hot knife through butter. Just as the glower flame fan in Yiqing Luo's hands released a thick profound energy and was about to strike over. Boom! A deafening explosion reverberated, causing Yiqing Luo's ears to buzz. Yiqing Luo only felt that her hand was numb from this surge of energy. Bang! Another extremely strong elastic force struck against Yiqing Luo's body. She was sent flying backward. Vaster! Chi-Chi immediately went up and caught Yiqing Luo. After Yiqing Luo sat on Chi-Chi's back, she heaved a sigh of relief and frowned as she looked ahead. In front of her, there was no change in the entire mountain.